Universal health care, raising the minimum wage. If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you are a doer of the deed, I want you to stand up to your feet right now. We have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves. I am unbought and unbought.
Greetings, I am Nina Turner and you are tuned in to Unbossed. And if it's Friday, it is Mayor Mondale Robinson Day. Mayor, how are you? Rebel HQ contributor, running cities, running an organization, just doing it all to try to save the world. How you doing today, Mayor?
I'm just trying to do my part. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine too. I feel the same way, just trying to do our part. And today on the show, the mayor and I will be talking about the GOP, how they continue to dehumanize the working class. And one senator in particular did so at a hearing for the nominee for Secretary of Labor. Then a Tennessee lawmaker who voted to expel Reps Jones and Pearson gets a dose of karma. Cannot wait to talk about that story. And finally, Republicans and the Biden administration have ignored the rise in child labor and exploitation. As you know, here on Unbossed and on TYT in general, we speak the truth, and it cuts both ways, Mayor. We don't care if we're talking about the Democrats or the Republicans. Either you standing up for the people or you are not. Any other thing on your mind today, Mayor, before we get started?
I think this show is impactful right now, especially what's going on in this country. So I'm ready to do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, Mayor, we are going right to the Secretary of Labor nomination. The confirmation battle for the Secretary of Labor is in full swing. And the GOP, they just cannot help themselves. Watch this.
Have you ever been an employer of a business? It's a yes or no. I'm sorry.
I have not, Senator, but my parents have, and my family is.
Have you ever done it?
I have not.
Then you don't understand what it's like, how hard it is to actually sit awake at night trying to figure out how you're going to man a job when you don't have the people there and you know you're going to have to do it. Have you ever acquired or sold a business?
I have not, Senator.
Okay. Have you ever had to raise capital in order to launch a new business?
I have not, Senator.
Which goes back to one of your comments that you wrote about that I'll get to later. Have you ever had to provide quarterly reports to shareholders?
Senator, I have not done these things.
And I'm just going, this is qualifications, because the chairman said, can you actually say with a straight face if you're qualified on this? And these are points we're trying to make.
Baby, that could not have been me, and I know it couldn't have been the mayor, because I would have set brother man straight. But let me not digress too quickly. That was Republican Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, making it clear that he thinks those who haven't owned a business don't have the right to speak on labor. Marky Mark, is this you? Put up this headline. Senator Mark Wayne Mullins ran a multi-million-dollar plumbing business and claimed he only took $50,000 a year salary. His financial statements, however, show otherwise. Mark, I just want to know, is that you, baby? And then some Dems, because it's not just the Republicans, but we're gonna rest on the Republicans. But let me just tiptoe over to the Dem side. Some Dems are making the process hard as well. This headline right here: confirmation battle for Biden labor secretary pick heats up, complicated by Democrats. Julie Su faces a confirmation hearing that was on Thursday, which was yesterday. Now, opposition to Julie Su as President Biden's pick to be his next labor secretary, and the reluctance of a few moderate Democrats to back her has put her nomination in doubt as she faced a confirmation hearing on Thursday. While Democrats overall defended Su, as was widely expected, Republican senators grilled her, questioning her previous remarks about corporations, systemic racism, and her oversight of the disbursement of unemployment benefits across the state during the pandemic, a process they say was marked with fraud. It's just curious to me how both sides, Mayor, they only care about fraud when the other party is in charge, but when their party is in charge, let the fraud run freely. Now, there are two Dem holdouts still. Democratic Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and John Tester of Montana are holdouts, and their opposition could derail Su's confirmation vote in the 51-49 Senate. Now, back to the Republicans, though. I cannot wait. From the video clip at the top of the segment, it is obvious that Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, the Republican from Oklahoma, had his sights on trying to humiliate Su and not seek genuine understanding. This indeed was very political for him. His questioning made his intentions clear. Let's revisit some of those. Do you still believe that corporations are just insulation to shield individuals like myself? The very definition of a corporation as an entity that is created, I'm smiling while I'm reading this because the mayor's shaking his head, entity that is created to permit maximum income and designed to insulate individuals who will profit from liability. That's part of the question that the senator asked her. Now, where's the lie? I'm trying to figure out where Su lied, but let's go on. He further questioned, do you believe, now this is it right here. Skip, go on, put the mayor up, because this is where we going in. Do you believe that American society was built on white privilege and systemic racial subordination to which you've written also? Now I'm gonna tell you something, man. This is how I was vibing. Su should have looked him dead in his eyes. I mean, eyeball to eyeball, and said, yes, sir, I do. What would you call 100% affirmative action for white male landholders in this country at the founding of this nation, where white women were treated as extension of children, native lands were stolen, and Africans and their progeny were enslaved for generations, and even once legally freed, subjected to near enslavement status through de jure and de facto white supremacy that was practiced and fueled by white supremacy. Yes, sir. What would you call black codes and Jim Crow and redlining and government policies that built a solid middle class in this country and deliberately cut out African Americans and exacerbated their suffering as 10th class citizens in this country through the levers of political power? Oh, yes, sir, I stand by what I wrote. And if you have evidence to the contrary, Senator Mullins, please share. Otherwise, cut the games and the revisionist history that you playing here today. Now, Mayor, Su didn't say any of that, but I'm just channeling had it been me up there going, toe to toe with this dude. Those are the things that I would have said. But Mayor, go ahead, jump on in. Let me know how you would have rolled.
I would have been just like you, a little louder probably, because I have no coof. I'd have been like, it's a quick yes to all of your questions, and no, I've never owned a business, and guess what? Neither have none of the other Secretary of Labor departments, right? None of them, not Scalia, not Acosta, not even our good brother Robert Reich, right? Before they were Department of Labor secretaries, none of them, not Tom Perez, not Alex Herman, none of them own businesses. None of them were business owner, because it's not Department of Commerce, it's Department of Labor. And you don't need to be a business owner to recognize exploitation, which he's advocating for. The lies coming out of Oklahoma Mark's mouth are absolutely disgusting. And I bet you the Democrats are trying to teach her how to talk back these conversations about white supremacy when she knows, because she wrote it, that it is absolutely correct. Just as you said, absolutely I believe it. Absolutely I stand by corporation acting as shields for rich individuals to get paid. So yes, when you say individuals like yourself, especially like you, white man, mediocre white man from Oklahoma who rise to the Senate, from doing nothing but exploiting people, yeah, and lying on your documents.
There it is, man. I'm telling you, she should have just relaxed right in there, because she got all the receipts are on her side. What she wrote back then is still true today, unfortunately, Senator Mullins. But let's you and I work out a way to make it untrue, so that the next time, we had this conversation, it's less true than it is today. But she didn't do any of that. She just kind of said, hey, it requires a longer conversation, and I understand. I get it. I get it, because it ain't in everybody to go toe to toe with these fools, because they try to intimidate. You saw how he kept cutting her off. He didn't even want her to talk. I would have said, sir, can I get a word in edgewise, or are you going to ask the question and answer it too? I mean, which one? Are you on that side of the table and this side of the table, sir? Or are you gonna let me get a word in edgewise? Because you just proving all my points, but that's just me. The way he did her was totally unacceptable, but that's okay. She knows she was stepping in the ring, so you got to be ready to fight. Now, I would have ended my dress down on this empty suit with this line, man, from Wesley Snipes' character, Nino Brown, in the movie New Jack City, which I think is very fitting for this moment. Go ahead, Skip, go on, put it up, baby. Sit your $5 ass down before I make change up in here on you.
I love it. That's the perfect, and listen, that would have been the perfect way to end it too. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, and it's funny that you evoke the Nino Brown character in this case, because this gentleman was showing up in a way that was very
gangster.
Yeah, gangster. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And we should say that this is unacceptable behavior for any guest, let alone someone who's been nominated by the sitting president to represent one of the departments of this government. So I think what we're seeing is, like you said, Republicans' hypocrisy. None of these questions came up for Elaine Chao. None of them. None of them. When Mitch McConnell's wife was being, nominated for Secretary of Labor, none of these questions came up. So we already know what this is. It ain't got nothing to do with truth. Republicans ain't got no truth in them. This is all about show in 5 minutes. If he really wanted to represent Oklahoma, he'd be standing up against these book banners that's happening over there.
I know that's right, Marin, if he really cared. I mean, if you're gonna do the dance, get it. She grown, she understood she was coming into the arena. I got that. So that's why I am not about to say, oh, it was sexism and all that, that other stuff. Because when real sexism, when you do that, when real sexism is happening, then you take away the energy from really having to deal with that stuff. Now, could he be a sexist? He might be. But challenging her in that way is no different than how, Democrats also challenge the people on the other side. When I was served in Ohio Senate, I challenged people on the other side too. But you know what? If you're gonna bring it, you better be willing to take it. And that's why I wish that since he wanted to go there, because that's what I would have said. I would have said, Senator Mullins, I came here to try to seek this nomination and let you know how I'm gonna serve the people, even your residents who elected you. But since you wanna go there, Senator, let's go. And that's why I would have broke it all down the way that we did. But I just thought Nino Brown's response, Wesley Snipes in New Jack City, because since he wanted to go there, that's the best response. But I'm gonna let my stunt double go ahead and get the last say on this. And this is what she had to say: it's Secretary of Labor, not Secretary of Bosses. I mean, man, that's it. And that's all. We can drop the mic on that. Why do GOP politicians have such disdain? And here's the major point, even though we laying it down. I want our viewers to understand this, that what Mullins did was just another example of the disdain that the GOP show for people who work and receive a paycheck for a living instead of dividends.
Listen, that's powerful because the department is the Department of Labor, and I don't know CEOs that labor. They don't. They exploit other people's labor. So this idea, and business owners, they don't labor. There's other people's labor that make them wealthy. So this idea that you need to be in the business owner class to be in this department speaks of what you think of this so-called representative democracy that we have and what it should look like and who should be sitting in these spaces. I am like your stunt double. It is Secretary of Labor, not bosses. Indeed.
Not bosses. There it is, Mayor. And especially when you get to a corporation level. I mean, we know there are mom and pop shops where those owners work tremendously hard. And when you get to corporation level, a whole bunch of people help you get there. And a whole bunch of people are helping you maintain that level. So her job is, so anyway, yeah, Senator Mullins, y'all know you don't want none of this. You could never get that off with the mayor and I. See, they send people in like that who gonna take that foolishness from them. They don't want none of this. So shame on you, Senator Mullins, but we just straightened it out for Sue. And I hope that she does get, the nomination that she is the Secretary of Labor. Go on and, oh Lord, somebody better send her this clip though, so she know how to respond the next time, because we just laid it out for her. She ain't gotta do no homework, Mayor. All she gotta do is watch this segment, and she'll know how to roll in there next time.
She can go in there like Donald Trump's wife and just read Michelle Obama's speech. Just read the clip. Read the transcript for this. There you go. You ain't gotta think of nothing new.
Look, we give her permission to plagiarize. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it, Julie Sue. We rooting for you, baby. Don't let that man walk all over you. He ain't better than you, hell. Anyway, GOP lawmakers in the great state of Tennessee, baby. I just need you to watch this very important reminder from a couple of weeks back.
Let's talk about expulsion. For years, one of your colleagues who was an admitted child molester sat in this chamber. No expulsion. One member sits in this chamber who was found guilty of domestic violence. No expulsion. We had a former speaker sit in this chamber who is now under federal investigation. No expulsion. We have a member still under federal investigation. No expulsion.
Go ahead, Representative Justin Jones, laying out with all the receipts. That was Representative Justin Jones as he was speaking before getting expelled by the majority white GOP in the Tennessee state legislature. He spoke to the hypocrisy of those GOP members to vote to expel him and fellow Representative Justin Pearson. Both of them were eventually unanimously reinstated by their respective city councils. Now, one of the GOP members who voted them out is facing the tune of what we call karma, baby. Put up this headline: GOP state rep who voted to expel Tennessee 3 resigns over sexual harassment of intern. And let me just correct that headline just a little bit, because they didn't, well, they did vote for the 3, but one survived, and she all right though. She survived. A Tennessee rep, Scotty Campbell, the vice chair of the state House Republican caucus and a leader behind the effort last month to expel 3 Democrats who joined a gun control protest, resigned on Thursday, weeks after a state house investigation found he had sexually harassed at least one intern. Let's put up his smug shot. Yep, there he is. He looks real smug indeed in that photo. The pure unadulterated gall of this man to vote to expel Representative Jones and Pearson, and he live in a glass house, should not have been throwing stones. The Tennessee Holler also pointed out this blatant hypocrisy of not just Scotty Campbell, but of the entire Tennessee GOP, as Representative Justin Jones did in that speech we just played before he was expelled. And especially considering they knew about these allegations. And you know what, Mayor? Not only were they allegations, they were found to be true. Because people can allege a whole bunch of stuff about somebody, and it may not ultimately be true. But when you have investigations that prove that those allegations are true, then we got to, you got a problem there, and they got a problem there. Brian Lagan, a gun control advocate, tweeted about how Campbell, how he needed to be expelled. remember what he told at Vote Gloria J about her benefits, her health care if she resigned. Since he was allowed to resign, it seemed he will get to keep his benefits and Tennesseans will get to keep subsidizing them. If that's not the case, then let me know. So Mayor, go ahead, jump on in here.
Listen, this is the hypocrisy of the Republican Party, not just in Tennessee, but especially in Tennessee. We saw them expel 3 people, vote to expel 2, call up 3. The 2 black ones, of course, got expelled because of decorum. The sacred ground, they call it, beneath the hallowed dome. But we see them allowing people to harass 19-year-old interns sexually. And some of the stuff this man said is absolutely disgusting. And he better be glad it wasn't my 19-year-old if I had a 19-year-old, because he wouldn't be able to resign. We'd be having a real conversation face to face. Furthermore, this is the same Republican Party that not only did they not force him to resign, he resigned on his own only because an article, because the press pushed him. This is further why we need a free press that is not afraid to charge up Republicans, because the Democrats won't do this. The Democrats sat in the House while these brothers were being expelled, knowing that this report had already found this man guilty of sexually harassing this 19-year-old and allowed him to vote, and ain't nobody brought that up. He was in there voting on these brothers' decorum when he was already guilty of this crime.
Yeah, talk about decorum. No, you're right about that, Mayor. They didn't use that. And that tweet that came from Brian Lagan really showed how this man got a slap on the wrist by taking the easy way out. And now he gets to keep his health care too. Since he was allowed to resign, it would seem he will get to keep his benefits and Tennesseans will get to keep subsidizing them. If that's not the case, let me know. So thank you, Brian, for calling that out. And here's more on the cover up to protect Campbell. According to the investigation, Campbell made comments to a legislative intern about her and another 19-year-old intern about imagining they were performing sexual acts on one another. This grown ass man, all right? The legislature has also spent potentially thousands of dollars in taxpayers' money to move one of the interns out of her apartment building where Campbell also lived, and to place her in a downtown hotel for the remainder of her internship. You know what, Tennessee? Yeah, y'all got a freaking problem. Put the mayor back up. Mayor, now I'm all the way with you. Like, I knew this, but to read this out loud to our viewers, we got to go ahead and call this thing what it is.
This is predatory. And the fact that this young lady is not just existing in a hostile work environment, she lives in the building with this nasty bastard. She lives in the same building as this man who is saying and acting out in manners. This is disgusting. Like, the fact that he was able to resign, the fact that Republicans are willing to sit next to this person in the hollow on that sacred ground that they call the Tennessee Capitol shows you that there's no moral code that they're obligated to stick to. Their only concern is power, corrupt power. And this is absolutely disgusting. And this brother, if I can call him that, needs to be checked in a real way, and resigning should not be the case. This should be, you are a predator and you should be labeled as such. I don't care that she's legal. You are a predator. This is predator behavior.
No, Mayor, is absolutely right. In the investigation, as I said, people can make all kinds of allegations. Now, we no longer talking about the allegation. We're talking that it has been founded. And Sachi, tell me how old this man is. You know, because men like that who got to deal with 19-year-olds and 18-year-olds because they can't handle a real damn woman. And now she got to be relocated to a damn hotel. Relocate his ass to a damn hotel.
Or jail cell.
Or jail cell, yeah. A jail cell all the way. Man, I'm with you. You know, my grandmother used to have a saying. She would say, you know, I'm going to jail and you going to hell. You know? That's what grandma used to say. So I'm with you on that. He is a predator, and it doesn't matter that she's so-called legal, because hell, if I was in charge, Mayor, hell, you wouldn't be grown at the age of 18. I'm just gonna tell you that. You just wouldn't be. You know, the science out there, the psychology says that the brain ain't even formed to be able to deal with some. Sachi, how old is the man? That you wouldn't even be able to deal with stuff until you're 25.
You can't drink till you're 21.
Come on.
Huh?
And this dude right here, Sachi telling me to reset. I wanna know how old this dude is.
And
it don't matter. I'm just trying to prove a point here that they can't handle grown ass women messing around with children. Tennessee, you could do better than that. So he's 39 years old, brother damn near 40, and you sitting up here playing around with teenagers. Her mama and daddy, somebody need to get on up in there on his butt. Seriously.
He's old enough to be her dad. He's old enough to be her dad. And that's the disgusting part in his behavior. You're talking to this very impressionable person, talking about you're having an adult conversation. You're not. I'm talking about the power dynamics of your age, the age difference, and also the fact that she's an intern, wondering what's gonna happen to her career if she says something. She should not be in this position because of you being a predator. Somebody needs to react more than saying you have the right to resign.
That's it. And well, don't get me started. Monica Lewinsky, let me just say that, she didn't get the love that she needed and the support she needed at the time. We want to talk about power dynamics. But anyway, that's another story for another day. All right, so the hypocrisy of the GOP, because the mayor and I, we can rest right there. I can't wait to read the comments coming up. During the entire expulsion process, these GOP members had the audacity to talk about decorum, as the mayor already brought up. Watch this.
Just because you don't get your way, you can't come to the well, bring your friends, and throw a temper tantrum with an adolescent bullhorn. But certainly don't start by commandeering the well while we're conducting business here in this Tennessee General Assembly. That's why you're standing there, because of that temper tantrum that day, for that yearning to have attention. That's what you wanted. Well, you're getting it now.
How many of you want to be spoken to that way? We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about even gun violence. How many of you would want to be spoken to that way? The reason that I believe the sponsor of this legislation, of this resolution, spoke that way is because he's comfortable doing it. Because there's a decorum that allows it.
There it is. So spare me your fragile ass decorum when you allow members who have been proven to have sexually harassed teenagers sit up there and get away with it. As Representative Justin Jones laid out, that was Representative Justin Pearson. So glad both of them got their seats back. And the reality is to them that two black men having the courage or the audacity to step up and confront the status quo, it was a threat to them and their white supremacist, misogynistic way of life and legislation, archaic. I mean, that's what this was. And this headline right here, Tennessee Republicans call for lynching style hangings in state execution. And they got the pure, unadulterated gall to talk about decorum. Where were the calls for decorum then? Where was it? Thank you, Skip. The calls for expulsion, where were they then? And when it comes to passing legislation that literally starves families and children, or makes it easier to get guns that are used to slaughter thousands of people every year, decorum is never considered. It's tossed out the window entirely when it comes to passing record-breaking military budgets that only profit the military industrial complex, the defense contractors, while abandoning the people you elected to represent. We talking about you on the state and federal level. Where is the decorum then? If you want decorum, baby, provide for the people. Man, that's how I feel about this thing. You on mute, man. We want to hear what you got to say.
Listen, I think you're spot on, and I don't need to mansplain too much, because what you're saying is absolutely true. And I would just add one thing. Hey, that headline is not from the 60s. That was from this year.
Come on.
A Republican suggested that for a bill this year, and nobody had a problem with it. Republicans actually giggled, and so did the person who suggested it giggled when he said it. This is not about decorum. It's about white men having their way in a country that they feel like that was built for them, and they have no rights, that nobody should trump their rights, not even white women. When they want to play with them and live out their fantasies, disgusting as they may be.
There it is, Mayor, that it is. So we want y'all to wrap your whole body, not just your mind, around what we just talked about in these two segments. Woo! I'm telling you, yeah, I did. I need to show her today. I do need to show her. And we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was the white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it, though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
And welcome back to the show. The mayor and I still hot. We were hot during the break, boy. Y'all just don't even want to know. This stuff got to keep you hot. You know, Mayor, I had a boss who used to say, if your hair is on fire, act like your hair is on fire. Don't play games.
Don't play games.
Yeah, and that's how we rolling. Let's get to some live reads, Mayor. Dr. Richie is on Sirius. He's hosting a new show on Sirius XM Urban View. Join him Sundays on channel 126 for the Dr. Rashad Richie Review. Check it out Sundays on Sirius XM Urban View. Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. You don't want to miss that. And the Shorty Awards. Thank you to the Shorty Awards for recognizing TYT's work and our commitment for driving positive change. This nomination speaks to our work in all of our shows like The Damage Report, Indisputable, The Watch List, Unbossed, and The Young Turks. It also recognizes strong progressive voices from the entire network. Support our work by voting for us at tyt.com/shorties. You can vote every day until April 26th. Come on, y'all, bring it on home for TYT. And as you know, we have a podcast, Unbossed. You can catch us. So go ahead, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, whatever you do, put them 5 stars right there. Support Unbossed. Now to viewer comments. We're gonna start off with our TYT members. Sexy Speed Racer. Hey, Sexy Speed Racer, it's been a while, baby. She should have asked him if he has ever worked for someone else other than himself or one of his cronies. She's talking about the Sue nomination. That is very good. Then he has no right to speak on labor issues. I'm with you. We with you, Sexy Speed Racer. Ivan, Year of the Dragon. In today's news, someone who named themselves Mark Wayne is suggesting that someone else should not be taken seriously. Ivan, Year of the Dragon, you know you're wrong. His mom and daddy named him Mark Wayne. Now don't do that. Don't do that, Ivan. Don't do that. Oh, Ivan. Woo, Ivan, I would ordinarily agree with you, but his mama and daddy did it to him. But I get you, we with you, we following you. Biden flavor corn pop Hey, Biden flavor compact, Pop, we ain't seen you in a while. See, can't wait. Let those maggots resign, take administrative leave and other tricks to get paid to have their own way all day. You right, that's what they did. And Bill's dragging circles the wagons. Hey, Bill, Nina Turner is the Nino Brown of progressives. Oh, Bill, I never thought of myself that way, but I like that. I'm gonna get me a t-shirt made. I am the Nino Brown of the progressives. Y'all better go ahead on, y'all too much. You know what, I'm gonna stop right there, man. We're gonna come back, because we got some more. We're gonna come back to Twitch and stuff after this next segment. But listen, I receive all of that. Thanks to each and every one of you. We're gonna come back before the show is over and read some more comments. I can't even go any further. I am the Nino Brown of the progressives, baby. I love that. That is a t-shirt. Oh, Third Way endorses duopoly politics. This group right here, Third Way is no way. Now, you all know how I feel about Third Way. Well, now they're at it again ahead of the 2024 presidential elections. And they got me asking, WTF, neoliberals?
We will now kneel. Miss Cinema, no.
I have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Now check out this hogwash opinion piece written last week in the Washington Post. This headline right here, opinion, and that's all it is. This plan for a third-party presidential bid in 2024 is dangerous. They got the nerve to say the word dangerous. Now, the last time I checked, I thought they wanted people to have choice, or at least in this country, we talk about choice. People need to have choice, all choice. But then these folks gonna sit up here and talk about people who are pushing for a third party, somehow they are dangerous. Now, before we go any further, it's worth noting that Jonathan Cowan is the president of Third Way. Rana Epting is the executive director of Move On. I'm so shocked to see Move On join this group. And Patrick Gaspar is the CEO for the Center for American Progress Action Fund. Now, that's settled. Here's what they all had to say. As leaders of three groups that represent various segments of the Democratic Party coalition, now notice you don't see no progressive on that list, but here we go. We don't always agree on policy or politics, but lately we find ourselves strongly uniting on one alarming issue: the possibility of a well-financed third-party presidential campaign that could help elect mega extremist president in 2024. Now they go on. Our country is staring down a series of once-in-a-generation threats that strike at the heart of American democracy. Corporation on our nation's highest court, fundamental rights tested at the ballot box, and of course, the January 6, 2021 coup attempt. They go further. Yet instead of responding to these attacks with clear-eyed determination to protect our country, the organization known as No Labels is spearheading an effort to put a third-party ticket on the ballot in every state. Now, let's settle this. Let's settle this right here. From the very onset of this piece, they're using January 6th as a fear-mongering tool, as a fear mechanism to prevent people from considering options other than President Joe Biden or whoever the Republican nominee may be, or whoever jumps into the Democratic primary. And so far, we know that's Marianne Williamson and JFK, all right, or Robert K, that RFK. We know that that's happening right now, which at this rate, on the Republican side, it looks like the nominee will probably most likely be Donald Trump. Now, blaming third parties, though, is outdated, Mayor, and it's tiresome. And this article is bringing back some major 2016 vibes that we don't need right now. Democrats preach about democracy, but there's nothing democratic about limiting your voters' freedoms. And they did that in 2016 against a presidential candidate that you and I, Mayor, both are familiar with by the name of Bernard Sanders, a United States Senator from the great state of Vermont. They did it again in 2020, even before Senator Sanders announced that he was gonna run again. They met at Martha's Vineyard, all kinds of articles and receipts about how they gonna try to stop him from running. So how are they any different? But they go on, Mayor, before you jump in on this thing. No Labels has condemned Donald Trump and Joe Biden as equally extreme and claims that their likely nominations by the major parties require another choice. We understand the sentiment that has driven donors to the no label banner, but there is simply no equating a party led by Biden to today's mega Republican Party. Here we go again. One side believes in American democracy, while the other side has attacked it. One is governing from the mainstream, while the other champions extremism. One seeks to work collaboratively on the issues. The other has given way to conspiracy theorists and cranks. Moreover, no labels has yet to say what makes Biden an unacceptable candidate. Okay, well, here are some examples since they want to know, Mayor. We got some headlines here. Let's put this up. Biden administration oil, gas drilling approvals outpaces Trump's. Since they asked, Mayor, we're gonna give it to them. Massive fossil fuel expansion undermines US climate commitments. Let's talk about the Willow Project. Since they asked, since they want to go there, we're gonna give them some. This next headline, Biden expands Trump era border restrictions. Once again, new policy will further limit access to life-saving asylum. Oh, since they asked, we got some more receipts. Let's keep it on going, Skip. Biden's voting rights failure in the Senate is his own doing. The president had a chance to pass his agenda when his approval rating was at its highest. Without the public support, it's hard for him to convince members of Congress to fall in line. And the list goes on and on. But Third Way and Move On and the Center for American Progress Action Fund want to ensure duopoly politics, that remains in place. And that is, sir and ma'am, what is dangerous. And not to mention, expanding the two-party system is popular. Skip, let's put this up. Keep me and the mayor up, because we about to go in on this. Over half of Americans believe that both the Democrats and Republicans do such a poor job that a third major party is needed. Mayor, I got to throw some papers.
I'm concerned with these so-called progressive groups that are in on this op-ed, this opinion piece. What are you gonna do when they name a progressive as their party head? What are they gonna do? Their idea that when they asking these questions, one party supports democracy, the other attacks it. I'm trying to figure out which party you're talking about, because I got some questions. As a black man in America, I got plenty of questions. Tell me how Biden's administration gave more money for police administrations and police departments for COVID money than they did black men, when we were dying more than anybody from COVID. How you didn't act on the George Floyd Act when the George Floyd movement put your ass in office? When you told us you swear on your family name, you were gonna make black issues a priority if you win. If we sent you 2 senators from Georgia and gave you the White House, we did that. Black voters did that. Black men voted, 144,000 black men that didn't vote for Barack voted for Biden only to get the same soup. Only to get the same suit. So go ahead with that idea that we don't need third party candidates. We absolutely do, and we maybe wouldn't need it if the Democratic primary system wasn't so stacked against progressives and people that don't think like the status quo. So until they get ready and get all of this BS bias out of their primary system, let's get a third party candidate in here. And oh, what a perfect way to end my thoughts on this, that the Center for American Politics, your initials is CAP. And for young black people, CAP means you ain't doing nothing but lying. When you capping, you lying. So go ahead with it.
When you're capping, baby, you're lying. Woo! Oh, Lord, have mercy on my soul. The mayor just broke it all the way down. We laying it out for you. And look, President Biden and Mayor, I've said that he want to run, let him run. Because I ain't one of those. I ain't gonna say the man shouldn't run. If he feel froggish, let him go ahead and leap. But don't sit up here and make it seem as though the Republican, the corporate interests of both parties are in fact the same. Anytime during a pandemic, you want to declare that it's over just because you want to declare that it's over and people are still suffering, that is a problem, sir and ma'am. Those of you who fixed your pen to write that sorry ass op-ed. We gonna let you know what it is. Anytime the American people, 63% of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck, but yet y'all increase the budget of the military industrial complex. And meanwhile in the hoods where people are misunderstood, you ain't got no holler for them. You ma'am, you sir are felon. When eggs cost more than chicken wings, you ma'am, you sir are felon. When you got elected leaders in the state of Tennessee talking about bringing lynching as corporal punishment from trees, you sir, you ma'am are felon. How many other ways when babies are gunned down in schools, you sir, you ma'am are failing.
Who?
They failing.
Get the fire extinguisher. Because
People
it's
tired of it, Mayor. They tired of it. When the residents of East Palestine, a majority white community, the president of the United States still ain't touched down in that community. You, sir, you, ma'am, are felon. When it takes your transportation secretary 10 days to even comment on it. And then it's because of pressure coming from independent media. Shout out to David Sirota and his team at The Lever. You, sir, you, ma'am, are failing. Now, Mayor, we could have did the whole show on this. Now, I'm not saying I agree with no boy. I don't know if I agree with them or not. But what I do agree with is the last time I checked, this is America. It's supposed to be the beacon of choice. And how dare these three organizations fix their mouths and their pens to sit up here and talk about what's dangerous. What's dangerous is leaving working class and poor people behind. That's what's dangerous. Man, we did that. We did that on this segment. I'm just gonna say it and shout it from the rooftops. Hell, we're gonna pat our own selves on the back. Let us go ahead and go to the comments. We go into Twitch now, Ghost Dog TV. GOP are capitalist supremacists. Capital doesn't work, but they're completely dependent on labor and they don't want to share, so they resent us as a coping mechanism. All right, Neo Def 07. Nina is like, you know what? Give me the fine, this MFer. All right, Neo Def 07 and Resto Dragon, No Labels is funded by huge mega corporations that are trying to put an even more corporate candidate on the ballot than either the Dems or the Republicans. David Sirota did a huge expose on them. Okay, Resto Dragon, look, I'm not saying I stand up for no labels, but what I'm not gonna do is sit up there and let Cap and Move On and Third Way sit up there and lie and try to take away people's choice. Because see, in America, we take the bitter with the sweet. We say that people should be able to run, and hell, if they want to run, they should be able to run because both the Republican and Democratic parties are corporations.
And the true story, the true fire here that we're missing, it's not that no labels, who cares about no labels? It could be anybody. The problem is the system is rigged, so if you can't get on all three, there's plain. This op-ed did some wonderful illuminating both on what the people on the left, so-called left, are afraid of, and also what corporations are afraid of. One, it takes about $70 million to be a viable candidate for president in the United States. Why is that the case when 63% of the people are living paycheck to paycheck? You're telling me majority of Americans can't even fathom what it takes to be president because they're living paycheck to paycheck. So they ain't never seen 7 zeros in their bank account, but you got to spend that to get your name on every state. One, that's the one thing that's problematic in this auto. The second thing, so what if No Label is trying to get another corporate candidate on the ballot? The true problem is that we don't have a party that people feel comfortable enough saying, hey, this party got my back as working class, so I don't care who's on the ballot. I see my interests being supported. If you were supporting my interests, you could put anybody on the ballot and I wouldn't lose. Period.
That's it. They all funded by corporate interests. What the hell? You know what I mean? Oh, Lord, have mercy. And Nordopithecus, cuz I probably messed that up. Nerd, I'm just gonna call you Nerd for short. I think LOL for this older comment, and thank you for that. I just said I was gonna talk about you. Daily dystopian reminder, Biden is older than the life expectancy of American constituents. He's not going to invest in a future he doesn't get to enjoy. He's going to keep drilling for the present he has left. And that was from yesterday. And Manuel at Unbossed with Nina Turner. Nina Turner, you are a real life superhero, and your superpower of always keep going. Think about it. What a power. Thank you so much for that, Manuel. Look, this is the first time the mayor and I going in on the comments, and we appreciate it. Look, you can send in a comment that we don't agree on, because this ain't about that. We ain't trying. We not one of those. We just gonna have a conversation, so we appreciate all of that. Oh my God, I can't believe our hour is almost up. The GOP solution to labor shortage, we're gonna stay up on the GOP today. The GOP solution to labor shortage, getting more children on the assembly line. This is what these mofos wanna do. Take a look at this headline. Iowa Republicans take 4 a.m. vote, like the cowards they are, to vote to roll back child labor protections. Teens as young as 14 in the Hawkeye state may soon be able to work on meat processing lines, operate heavy machinery, work night shifts, and serve damn alcohol. 2 Republicans joined every Democrat in voting against the measure. Shout out to those 2 Republicans who had some damn common sense. The wheel bill now goes to the House for agreement before the bill can be signed by Governor Kim Reynolds, who is a Republican, who told Iowa reporters earlier this month that she worked as a babysitter starting at the age of 12 and generally supports putting kids to work. I got news for the mayor. Working as a babysitter is a lot different than being on a meat packing line, chick. Let's go ahead and put up these comments from her. Damn, these people crazy. That's one of the reasons I'm such a huge proponent of work-based learning and registered apprenticeship programs, because it's not necessarily starting at a younger age like that, but it's really let students interact with amazing businesses in our community to find out what they have a passion for, what they're good at, to learn how to communicate with other people, a responsibility of showing up and doing the job. And those are all, Iowa values that we tout. Jesus Christ, lady. Babysitting is not the same, as I said. You know what? This isn't even the first bill of its kind, sad to say. Arkansas was the first state to roll back child labor protections in March, repealing a requirement that 14 and 15-year-olds receive a document issued by the director of the Division of Labor and the consent of their parents or guardians. That was called a work order. You had to have that. Plus, recent child labor rollbacks. Let's expose all of this. In Ohio, my home state, Republican senators okayed letting 14-year-olds and 15-year-old children work as late as 9 p.m. while school is in session. In March, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, a Republican, signed a bill that rolled back the ban on 16 and 17-year-olds from working at places that earned more than a quarter of revenue from alcohol, AKA the bars. And in Minnesota, a Republican lawmaker has introduced a measure to let 16 and 17-year-olds work in construction zones. Put the mayor up, Skip. You know what? Grooming. They always want to talk about, bring up our damn trans sisters and brothers and family and friends. If this ain't grooming, I don't know what the hell is. So Mayor, go ahead, have at it.
First of all, 14-year-olds working night shift sounds like we're further back than we passed the Fair Labor Standards of 1938, when he said we can't have children working that might impact their education opportunity. But if we couple what's happening all over this country with Republicans, we see a trend. Don't let them have any books about diversity. Don't have any books that ain't about preaching whiteness or something that's stale. All we want to do is teach them how to get out of there and go to work in somebody's factory. This idea that a 14-year-old is old enough to manage machinery that can kill adults, that is too dangerous for most adults to handle, and then do it on night shift, a 6-hour night shift, is disgusting, beyond disgusting. At 14, you're 3 years away from 11. 3 years from 11 is disgusting beyond compare. 17-year-olds selling alcohol, 16-year-olds selling alcohol. What you gonna charge them with when they give their 16-year-old friend alcohol?
Come on.
What you gonna do when one of those drunk men in that bar put their hands on them kids?
Or a drunk woman? Hell, don't let the women off the hook.
What are we talking about in this world? What is going on when we're this desperate? We're this desperate to make people seem lazy, that you gotta hire kids, bring kids into the workforce. No, this is simply about exploitation, making bigger margins. making bigger money. We don't have a labor problem. We have a CEO making too much problem in this country, and our government, including those who the op-ed said was protecting our democracy. Even them and this president sit idle while we jeopardize kids' lives like this. What's going on?
There it is, Mayor. And you know what? Marvin Gaye asked in one of his famous songs, what's going on? And that's what we asking right now. So, where have we been on this? Opponents of relaxing child labor laws see the legislation in states like Iowa as a step backwards after generations of strengthening. And the mayor noted that child labor protections, a sign that states are bowing to the pressures of capital rather than looking out for the best interests of kids. So whether it's allowing the NRA to continue to control them or allowing the GOP to be able to roll back the hands of time, at the peak of child labor during the Industrial Revolution, let's go and walk back in time for the last 3 minutes we got left. Miserable working conditions, including crowded and unclean factories, a lack of safety codes, and long hours were the norm. Children could be paid less and were less likely to organize into unions. That is it right there. Working children were typically unable to attend school, creating a cycle of poverty that was difficult to break. They know exactly what they're doing. 19th century reformers and labor organizers sought to restrict child labor and improve working conditions to uplift the masses. But it took the Great Depression, a time when Americans were desperate for employment, to shake long-held practice of child labor in the United States of America. Now, this reversion back to the bad old days must be met with the same fury as the justice leaders of the past did. In walks Mary G. Jones, AKA Mother Jones, in 1903. She led a children's march of about 100 children from the textile mills of Philadelphia to New York to show that she was going to bring it to the higher ups, from the millionaire bunch to President Teddy Roosevelt. And this is a quote from Mother Jones. They began work at 5:30 and quit at 7 at night. Children 6 years old going home to lie on a straw pallet until time to resume work the next morning. I have seen the hair torn out of their heads by the machinery, their scalps torn off, and yet not a single tear was shed while the poodle dogs were loved and caressed and carried to the seashore. You know what? We ain't got a whole lot of time. We're gonna stop it right there. We're gonna get on next week the migrant workers that President Biden is not protecting. But let's just go ahead and rest there. And if I may, just go ahead and lay in chattel slavery that did not give a damn for black children. Mayor, it's on you.
I think you cleaned it up well. And I would just add, in chattel slavery, we had women giving birth to kids in the field and continuing to work immediately. So we know what's going on here. Keating Owens in 1916, slavery back then, and these laws in Iowa and Arkansas now. We see the same white people making the same amount of money or more off exporting kids and the most vulnerable amongst us.
There it is. Shame on us, United States of America. So that's the kind of, we need presidents and people in office who not gonna sit back and take this foolishness. Gas up the jet, baby, because if it was my jet, I'd be gassing it up. And I know you would too, Mayor. Well, hell, it is we do pay taxes for Air Force One. But in any case, Mayor, this has been a rip-roaring Friday, baby. Y'all don't wanna miss Unbossed any day of the week, but you especially don't wanna miss it on Mayor Mondale, excuse me, Mayor thinking about Mondale Jones, Mayor Robinson Friday. So thank you, Mayor, so much for being here with us. And please check out the mayor on Rebel HQ. Well, that is our time for today. You know what we want you to do about this time. Always, always, always keep the faith. But baby, you got to marry that faith, because faith without works is dead. You got to marry that faith with all types of fight. Until next time.